Not too long ago, and it was a Dating a Latina, expectations versus reality, which was, I knew kind of a risk, and I thought it would be something funny, which it was, and I knew a lot of Hispanic cultures could relate and find it funny, and a lot of them did. The majority of people liked it and thought it was super funny, and then there was all those people, the haters that came out of nowhere and are saying like, that's only Mexican, or that's only this, like, we Argentinians don't do that, like, so it's one of those things, like, it's a slippery slope, but at the same time, I feel like as long as I'm being true to myself and people know I'm coming from a good place, it was just something silly and funny. The majority of people took it well, didn't get offended, but then there's always gonna be haters, I feel like.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, as far as integrating myself into like the Asian American community on YouTube, I feel like I'm not quite Asian enough. Like I'm 100% Asian, but like it's just that like I mean, to give you a good example, like in high school, like I started off with a group of friends that were predominantly just all Asians, and if you guys went to high school like somewhere around like 2000 and past that, you've probably seen those cliques. You'll see like like the Latinos, you'll see the Asians. I mean, like at least where I went to school. And I kind of broke away from that really soon, and I'm like today, fast forward, I'm kind of like a banana in some sense, like Asian on the outside, but I'm very like just what I mean, not just like but as far as like integrating myself into community, I feel like it's not something that like I know it exists. Like I know Just Kidding films and Wong Fu Productions, like they're all in that tight knit circle, but like I don't know if I necessarily fit into that thing because they're constantly making videos about like what it's like to be Asian in this, like 15 different ways Asians do this. And while I witnessed that, and I like my parents like they're definitely like culturally Asian. I don't necessarily identify, like I don't, what I mean, like it's like I'm aware of it, but I don't necessarily feel compelled to kind of put that out there because I feel like so many other people do that better. And I feel like with me, with music, I don't know if there's that much room for that. But I try every now and then with my Facebook posts, Instagram. Like I feel like that's where I do more of that stuff. But as far as YouTube, I try to cater to a broader audience, and I feel like maybe integrating myself too deeply might alienate people who might have otherwise watched my channel.
I definitely tap into like Black Twitter for a lot of my content, just because it's almost expected. Like Black Twitter just fucking thrives on Twitter, and like everyone just knows Black Twitter, and Black Twitter is hilarious. And then there's topics, trending topics. There's just topics that we will just create. And
what's your favorite?
Everyone, honestly, the Thanksgiving clapback was so funny. That was the hardest I've laughed on Twitter since I started Twitter.
I feel like Thanksgiving is prime time for Black Twitter. It's always like the best hashtag. Last year's Twitter history.
Black Twitter came through for the public this year. So funny.
Community service.
Yeah, and I wanted to create a Thanksgiving clapback video, but I was traveling. I couldn't create one. But it's expected. Like people, they'll see the trends and then they'll rush into my mentions. They're like, you gotta do a video, right? And I'm just like, okay, shit. I gotta run to the studio and write and all that good stuff. But I definitely tap into it pretty often.
I mean, it's a good source of ideas. So you're never out of ideas then. You just
Exactly.
See what they're up to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we're all pretty, like, the Black community in general is pretty close-knit. Most Black people know most Black YouTubers. It's like, yeah.
Okay. And would you say that's the same for, like, say the Black communities on other social networks? Like some people are saying, like, Black Tumblr is a thing.
Black Tumblr is definitely a thing. It makes me very happy just to scroll down Tumblr and just see really, I mean, Black Tumblr and Black Twitter are two different things. Black Twitter is just savage as fuck for no reason. Just hilarious and savage as fuck. And Black Tumblr is just so empowering. It just makes me so, I never feel so happy to be Black that I'm when I scroll down Black Tumblr.
Okay.
It's just, oh, it's great.
I'll have to get some blogs to follow from you after the panel.
I got you.
I know, because I have my Black Twitter on lock. It's great.
It
Yeah, although I wouldn't say it's just savage.
It's not just savage.
There's a lot of diversity.
There's so much diversity. It's so empowering too. But Black Tumblr, I can't even explain just how much how much support there is for, especially Black women on Tumblr. Like, I love it. It makes me so happy. Just
Awesome.
embrace all of our skin tones, because if we don't do it, no one's going to do it for us.
Okay.
We have to do it for ourselves.
All right. And that wasn't the question you wanted either. That was a great answer. He said yes. Awesome. So, kind of along the lines of the topic of Black Twitter being more than just savage, is that Black Twitter is also where there's a lot of support for things like, say, Black Lives Matter. And I've had creators ask me, like, hey, of all ethnicities, I see a lot of social issues making it into social media. It's becoming a huge topic, whether it's comments around Donald Trump, issues when it comes to the refugees, challenges when it comes to Black Lives Matter, and I'm at a loss as to how to approach whether or not I should cover this in my content. Will my subscribers like it? Will my subscribers expect me to do something about it? Is this something you guys think about when it comes to social issues? Do you feel an obligation to cover these, or do you feel pressure to stay away from covering these social issues in your content or in just your social media profiles in general?
I'll start this one. I feel obligated, but I don't. It doesn't. I feel obligated, but it doesn't feel like an obligation. Like I said, the channel started just mostly rants and comedy, and just talking a lot of shit, and it over time, as you start to grow and learn and find yourself, I've learned that in order to, and Jenna Marble, she said the same shit, in order to rant, like, you gotta be mad all the time about stuff. And like, I'm not mad about it. I'm not like just constantly mad about the stuff that people do. I'm becoming so much less judgmental towards, people. And it's hard to rant and to talk shit about people when it's just like, oh, she over there busting it wide open. Do you? But before it's just like, we don't, like, I'm grown, like, I don't care anymore. You know what I mean? But, yeah. What's the question?
Just taking it all over the place. So you feel an obligation to social issues?
Yeah, I feel obligated, but it doesn't feel like an obligation. Like, things are just getting so. I still try to keep the comedic stuff in there just because that's what attracts people, and that's what, and just to keep things a little light. But I still make things so they can just still get so dark and so dramatic, and I'm incorporating my acting chops into my content too. And if I don't speak up on these, I'm some of these people's favorite person. Like, I can tell them something that their parents will tell them the exact same shit, and they won't listen to them, they'll listen to me. There's too many people watching me, there's too many people following me for me not to speak up on these things, on these topics, for me to not put in my end to make people aware. I have to.
You feel like a responsibility?
Definitely. But like I said, it doesn't feel like it because I want to. I want to make people aware. I don't want to sit there and do the Chubby Bunny challenge every day. I don't.
Yeah, absolutely. Jervy.